mother-in-law of 3, and I have 4 beautiful grandchildren. I have been in recovery long-term. My sober date is November 17, 2017.
Well, congratulations, and
Thank
thanks
you.
so much for coming out and joining us. So, could you start off by telling us a bit about your childhood?
Typical 60s childhood, wonder years. Mom stayed home, dad went to work, 2 children. I have 1 brother who's 15 months younger than me. So we basically grew up as twins. Church on Sunday twice, church on Wednesdays. I think my dad would have a glass of wine with spaghetti once a month. And that was the extent of anything like that going on.
Gotcha. Okay. So kind of that white picket fence.
Yes, that my mom kept backing over, actually. So yes.
It's funny. So, when did you first start experimenting with alcohol or drugs?
I was a teenager of the 70s. So I would say in the 70s,
Yep.
it was pretty much a culture. And kind of ironic because I grew up in the city, and I didn't know anybody that did drugs. Well, our parents were concerned. So we moved out to the country, and everybody partied out there.
Okay.
And it was just pretty much a way of life. It was inexpensive. It was what you did. There was no such thing as DUIs. And it was just pretty much you went into school high, you came out of school high, and at lunchtime you went back out and got high again. And everybody did, including the teachers. So it was just a different kind of outlook.
Right. So, did you have any consequences at that time of your use?
No, not really. I was the class president, the whole thing, straight A, valedictorian, never got in trouble, kind of kid.
Okay. And then after high school, where'd your life take you?
I went to Kent State in Stark County for a while, and then I went to Kent State, actually in Kent, which was even bigger of a party than anywhere else. They didn't call us the Golden Flashes for nothing, I guess. And then I saw an ad in the paper. It says you must be at least 18 and willing to travel. And that was me. So I dropped out of school and took a job traveling in the country with an inventory auditing service. And I worked for this gentleman for 20 years.
Okay.
Travel in the country.
Okay, very cool. And could you share a couple of stories that really illustrate what life was like in your active addiction?
Well, it was, I thought, very well hidden. I was the teen mom and the PTA mom, and very politically active in typical Wadsworth, again, picket fence parent. And for a long time, I didn't really know I had a problem because my issue was prescription pain meds. I had 1 doctor, I had 1 pharmacy, several surgeries over the years, and I always insisted that the surgeon speak with my pain management doctor so that followed that contract to the letter, because for one thing, my husband's an attorney and I run his practice, and we would see people get in trouble on pain meds. And I was bound and determined not to be that person. So I kind of bypassed a lot of issues that people fall into until my children were all grown, and then it got really out of control. Blinding headaches, I could not see. I could not hold my urine. I would spend days in a recliner chair with towels over my eyes because my head hurt so badly. I went to see a neurologist, and he ran a bunch of tests, and he called me and he said, I know what's wrong. And I'm like, great, finally, somebody is going to tell me. Instead of throwing another, at this point, I was taking 18 different pills a day that were all prescribed.
Oh my gosh.
For different things.
And not doctor shopping at all.
No. The doctors all knew. I mean, like, one was a gastroenterologist, so obviously pain management doesn't write their prescriptions, but they were all in contact with each other. 18 different pills a day. And he said to me, it's your meds, they're killing you.
Oh my
He
gosh.
said your body is shutting down, literally shutting down. You're probably 2 weeks from dead. I had my first granddaughter who was my world. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh. And he said, this was at 4:00 in the afternoon, and he said, I found you a room at Glen Bay. You have to be there by 8:00. Mm-hmm. It takes 2.5 hours to get there, so that gave me an hour to make up my mind, pack my bags, and go. But that fear of a doctor telling you that you're going to die, and thank God that I got that warning and I got that doctor, because he saved my life, I have no doubt. And I came out of there just determined that I was never going to use again. I was going to make things work. And I, of course, wanted to start with step 9 and apologize to everybody first, which now I understand why you can't do that, or you shouldn't do that. And I jumped right into it. I was I came home on a Sunday night. Monday morning, I was at a meeting. Tuesday morning, I started IOP. And they tell you do 90 meetings in 90 days. Well, I did 182 in 90 days, plus counseling, plus IOP, and I lived. But I was fortunate because financially I could do that. Mm-hmm. And I didn't have to worry about who was going to pay the rent and things like that.
Mm-hmm. And, you know, coming up on 5 years of sobriety, have you, what do you do to ensure that you don't relapse, that you don't have a recurrence of symptoms?
One thing, people that I work with in sponsees, I tell them, when you go to a treatment center, everything is laid out for you. You do this at 6:15, you do this at 7:30, you do this. There's a reason for that. They know what they're doing. Mm-hmm. And I still try to live that lifestyle where I have, this is my meditation time. Simple things like don't drink coffee after 3:00 in the afternoon, because then you won't have to take a pill to go to sleep. And pretty much stayed on that lifestyle, whatever, but I had to figure out what worked for me also. And I had to explain, my husband needed to understand that, like, I have a journal. Mm-hmm. This is my journal, and you're not going to read it. Mm-hmm. And there's times when I actually force myself to do things, because you get little self-assured, I guess, that you really don't need to work that program that hard, but you do. Mm-hmm. At least I do.
Right.
It doesn't just get better. It's a disease. It's like if I had diabetes. I'm not going to take insulin for 3 years. I'm going to take insulin for life, or until they come up with something better. But there's not a cure.
Right. Absolutely. Could you talk about some intangible and tangible gifts that you have received in recovery?
The tangible gifts, and I think I kind of focus in on certain things. And one of the things that really hit me when I was learning my recovery, I guess you would call it, one of the things that they say is, we keep what we have by giving it away. And I latched onto that big time. In our law practice, we help people in the recovery community at no charge. We don't enable them, but we give them guidelines and guidance and how they can find what they need in order to possibly get visitation. I recently was able to help a young lady with a bunch of felonies get Section 8 housing, which they said, no, you have to be felony free for 3 years. And we were able to sit down and write a letter. And she called me a couple days later and she says, you're not going to believe it. And to see that happen, is just, to me, that's tangible. It's what you can grab onto that.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I tell her, honey, I didn't do it for you. I did it for me. Mm-hmm. Intangible, I would say, really simple things. Like, 2 of my grandchildren live very close to us. And yesterday, and there was a period where I didn't see them. And I would see pictures of them on Facebook and stuff like that. And yesterday, my husband and I loaded them up in a wagon and got some bubbles and had a parade. And they were like, Nana, why are you crying? I said, no, this is good crying. Because I didn't know if I would ever have that again. Mm-hmm.
So could you radiate this sense of peace and just, acceptance, peace. Could you talk about how you worked to be able to get that sense of peace and calm that, that you just kind of seem to have?
I think a lot of it is acceptance, that this is a box of tissues that I could be using instead of my hand. This is what I've done, this is what I am, and this is what I need in order to make this work. And you have to have a plan, and that's what I tell my sponsees. You have to have a plan. You can't wait till you got one foot into relapse to think about who you're going to call or what you're going to do. You need to, and I give them all a notebook. I work as a recovery peer support person, just starting that, and I do the same thing. Paper and pencil, baby. Here's a notebook. Write down your plan. Who are you going to call? I'm just very, very focused, and I am determined. I guess I would say that I'm not ever going back there again.
Right.
And in a way, I feel badly that it's worked that well for me, but the fact that I'm able to share with people that it really does work.
Yes.
And there isn't a cure, but there is a remission.
Absolutely. Could you share what you learned from your addiction?
That's kind of hard because I've learned a lot. I've learned that nobody wants to be an addict. Nobody gets up and says, I think I'm going to go score some heroin today, or I'm going to go have vodka for breakfast. And we just find ourselves that we're there, usually, and nobody can tell us otherwise.
What words of hope could you share with someone who is trying to get sober?
My again, granddaughter, she and I have a game that we play, and it's called Never Give Up, Don't Stop Trying. And when she was learning to take the training wheels off of her bike, she would say never, and she would fall, never give up, don't stop trying. She was learning to catch a ball, never give up, don't stop trying. I guess the short version is just both feet in. And the ones that love you will love you no matter what.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for coming out and joining us today.
Thank you for having
Your
me.
story is spectacular and so going to help people out there that are struggling or in those early stages. You're really going to make a difference.
I hope so. Thank you.